What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be talking about movement in Infinite Warfare. I'm going to be looking at the Momentum perk, the Manatarms trait, Overdrive, as well as a technique that I have that doesn't require any of those to help you get around the map fastest. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so I want to start this off by saying we still don't have the hard stats for the game yet, but I was able to hand test these with pretty good accuracy. So some of these values are rounded just a little bit, and they might be just slightly off of where the hard stats are going to be, but I am quite confident in the numbers I was able to calculate. So first up, let's look at the base movement speeds for these different weapon types. I tested with an SMG, an LMG, and an assault rifle. Now, a couple assumptions I'm going to be making about this based on our experience with previous COD games that I'm going to have to make until we get the hard stats is, first off, all the guns of a weapon type, so all the SMGs, for instance, have the same movement speed, all the assault rifles have the same movement speed, and all the LMGs have the same movement speed. It's very likely this is going to be the case, and throughout this video, I am going to be going through it with that assumption. Another assumption I have is SMGs are going to be once again at that 100% movement speed, so everything's going to be based on the SMG's movement speed here. But assuming both of those things are true, the SMGs have 100% movement speed, the assault rifles have about a 95% movement speed, and the LMGs will have somewhere between a 90 and 92% movement speed based on my calculations. So the first thing we're going to break down here is the Momentum perk. Now the Momentum perk isn't like Lightweight from the past. It doesn't kick in until 3 seconds after you start sprinting. And then based on my calculations, at least on this distance that I ran on Throwback, which is a pretty good distance, you aren't normally going to sprint without breaking your sprint for much longer than that in a real game, you get about a 7% increase to your movement speed after Momentum kicks in, and that applies to every one of the classes. So Momentum, it's alright I guess, it only really kicks in after that 3 seconds, and you have to factor in, most people don't just sprint for super long distances in games like this. They're going to be sliding, they're going to be jumping, they might be stopping to aim at something. It's fairly rare that you're going to be sprinting without breaking your sprint in some way in this game. So at the end of the video, I do have a much better technique that'll allow you to move actually faster than the Momentum perk in the first place. Moving on to Merc's Manatarms trait, what this does is it allows you to get 100% movement speed with any of the guns in the game. So if you're using an SMG, it doesn't do anything for you. If you're using an assault rifle or an LMG, it actually brings you to the base SMG movement speed, which is excellent. It's very, very good, especially on the LMGs. It's very noticeable. So for assault rifles, Manatarms will give you about a 5% increase to your movement speed, and for LMGs, it gives you about an 8 to 10% increase to your movement speed. And it's also very interesting to note that this will stack with Momentum, so you can end up moving pretty quick with an LMG with Momentum and Manatarms. Now before we get into my little technique that allows you to move faster, we're going to cover Overdrive really quickly. And Overdrive is actually quite simple. Based on my testing, it increases your movement speed by 50% for around 5 seconds. This is a really big increase to your movement speed, but it just gives you that little burst. It's pretty straightforward, and there's really not much else to say about it. We've seen it before, we know what it does, it's quite effective in a lot of game modes, and that's really all there is to it. Now finally, it's time to share my technique with how I get around the map faster. This is an excellent technique. I've been using this in Infected a lot. Actually, when I'm chasing somebody down when I have a knife, I catch up with them all the time using this technique, and it's such a minor little thing. It's not going to be as effective as the GSlide was back in Black Ops 3 or anything like that, but it does give you about a 15% increase to your movement speed, which is very effective. And all you have to do is slide, and then immediately after sliding, hit jump. This works easier on some button layouts than others, or it works easier if you have a scuff controller compared to a no scuff controller, but if you can pull this off, it's very, very effective. So what you want to do is just as you start sliding, that's when you want to hit the jump. You don't want to get your full slide in because you start losing your momentum. At the peak of your momentum while you're sliding is when you want to jump. And also, we don't want to be landing into a jump like we did in Black Ops 3. That was one way to move around the map faster, especially in zombies. A lot of people would do that. They would slide, jump, slide, jump, slide, jump. We don't want to do that in this game because you lose your momentum in that scenario. So with this game, all you do is a little slide, jump, slide, jump. You let your bar recharge between each slide, jump. And at least over this distance, I measured a 15% increase to your movement speed. And it doesn't have to charge up like Momentum or anything. It can be used really instantly. It makes you a much harder target to hit as well because you're going from like a slide to a jump. And it's going to be really hard for enemies to track you while you're doing this. So very, very good technique. I've been using this quite a bit lately. Kind of been keeping it a secret to myself until I did the proper testing. But I knew that it worked quite effectively. And now it's time for you guys to give it a shot and see how it goes. So I'd like to know in the comment section below, Do you have any other techniques that you think are faster than the one that I provided here without using any of the perks or anything like that? If you do, please let me know in the comment section below and I might test it out for a future video. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.